The influencer game goes deep. This is a tricky subject. Many people, especially for rhinos and cuckservatives. Rhinos and cuckservatives follow the orders of traitors without question. Using one's mind is very scary for many. Merely possessing a high IQ could lead to isolation, depression, and constant false accusations. Armchair Republican litigators won't be able to understand this video. As such, the Republican grassroots will be abused, and big churches and megacorps will dominate the dog and pony show. Fortunately, Doctors Burton Onstein, Michael Reardon, and Bernard V. Burke did what local cucks and their local fraudulent overlords always feared. They taught me to think, to question, and to develop my mind. Let's get started. Influencers have been a thing at least since the advent of mass media. Politicians and business interests had publicists, staffers, speechwriters, and lawyers. When I was young, my dad and his sour-faced cuckservative overlords derided all who wanted to learn. What's the alternative, you might ask? Well, for me sitting and watching endless hours of the God Box and smoothing over with aggressive overlords, wet nurses, and mooches, all while eating whatever, getting fat, putting the hate and scorn on gym rats and runners, hating everything their son touches. Where does this hating everything one touches come from? Psychology. Psychology from where? Psychology from church leadership. What was the result of cuckservatism, bankruptcy, needless bribery and feuding, lymphoma, high blood pressure, general strife, schizophrenia, and of course, more of the funding of church enemies and grassroots conservative enemies by your own side? A little before the internet, it was easier for cuckservatives to carry the water for the Federal Reserve, the United Nations, Bilderberg, and the World Economic Forum. The cucks on the West Coast fought back. They fight back by playing the delay game, offering prayers, and by marrying certain church activities with elite interests. There are far more games than the three mentioned. Out here, churches and conservative Inc. fight back only against lottery losers, conspiracy theorists, any rando who wants a better life, libertarians, the self-employed, and people who got reamed in a divorce. The usually very unhealthy in the rear with the gear veteran every 2 years is supposed to play influencer for rhinos against the free thinking. Or, I should say, the thinking. There have been a lot of clues influencers have left that I discuss in my videos and books, but chubby Republican litigator will never find it. What she will find is a whole world of entertainment outside of politics, i.e. her job. Let's look a little deeper. Trump's 2016 Twitter army was rage back then. After the deep state compelled lockdowns, the allowance of homelessness, the allowance of riots, and the compelled stimulus checks, I noticed new AstroTurf trying to shout down Trump's Twitter army. It took a while, but the faux right deduced what was in Trump's playbook, and the faux right went to war representing the interests of the elite. Let's get real local. Let's go real deep in faux right country. After 2008, at a place where I worked, an undercover came out and banged on a stack of wood with a hammer. The undercover said, "Ain't no damage control, brah. That ain't a thing. A plumber, brah." What had been happening was some workers were thinking for themselves. We were talking about Michael Savage, the market, the Leadership Institute, and various careers. The pussy client and their pussy vendors didn't like it. The Yamhill County Republican Party said LI, Atlas shrugged, and Endgame were too much for the sheeple. Pardon me, but those fucking sheeple were too pussy to formally address me. Who in your life has paid and/or volunteer influencers? Do you think Dave Ramsey or even many of his shitty competitors have influencers? You bet they do. Many authority figures simply back the elites, the will of conservative grassroots, and libertarians be damned. Want to see the true nature of the Republican Party? Look at past treatment of Ron Paul. Look at the implosion of the 2016 Rand Paul campaign and Michelle Bachmann's campaign. Let me tell you what those were. Controlled demolitions by the Republican Party itself. The grassroots isn't supposed to want what those candidates wanted. And the idea that a millennial influencer would weigh in on those subjects severely upset the deep state, the elites, and all their influencer sucklings who grift and slander and steer the public. We are taught to hate Alex Jones. How did he hurt you or I? His documentary Endgame upset my parents and the dullards of the Oregon Republican Party. Believe me, I'll never forget. What can we do to influence? Call out unjust authority above all. How does knowingly slandering libertarians advance justice? I'll wait. Before you answer, I'll have you know PSU's own Honshu is on conservative radio all the time and working behind the scenes. I'll also have you know the founders of the Oregon Tea Party were sucklings of Bill Clinton's diversity officer. They wanted nothing to do with the college Republicans. If you want to look like a fat, unhealthy woman, recite the words the kingpins gave you. You don't understand them. That's why you're not articulate. You're not articulate because your mandatory schools dumbed down the curriculum and music and movie execs played you and your parent like a piano. They made some of you dumb. Visit Oregon and see who you don't criticize wherever you go. Visit a still COVID-compliant church. They're here. Or watch how a county GOP protects local teachers and kingpins. Strides for liberty were made in Florida, but there's a lot left to do. Do you think the in the rear with the gear veterans really support going Javier Milei on the deep state? Prove me wrong. In Oregon, it has been said by influencers that people can't learn from mistakes. Let's hope this is not the case with Donald J. Trump in the near future. Keep in mind the first rule of politics is divide and conquer. Yes, from a buck. Anyway, polls are always 100% of the time dividing any given city or demographic.